We're ready.
Well, welcome to Matters Concerning Family, because
Families matter.
I'm Suzanne and this is my husband,
Patrick.
We're so glad that you're with us today. And we want to remind everyone, before we go on, to like, share, and subscribe so that we can add more folks to the podcast here. And marriage is so important to us. We've been married for 45 years. And we think there's a lot of great things to talk about marriage, because we want to encourage people to get married and to have good marriages.
Marriage is a gift from God. God gave mankind that gift. Mm-hmm. And what a blessed gift when we allow God to work in our marriage.
So before we get to our topic, well, actually, this is like part of our topic. I'd like to tell a little story that happened early on in our marriage that will lead us into what we want to talk about today. And so when our second son was born, so we've been married like 3 years or whatever it was, I decided that I was going to try to have a little surprise birthday party for my husband. And we lived in this apartment complex on the 3rd floor. And my plan was to invite some friends over. And we had this little certificate to go out to dinner at Perkins.
Yeah.
That was like a big ordeal for us at the time that we received after our son Bill was born. And so we were going to go out to dinner, my plan was, and then we'd have this little surprise when we came back to the apartment. I was going to try to surprise my husband. I made this like 3-layer cake. And I invited, it was like 4 or 5 friends, and they were supposed to kind of decorate the apartment a little bit while we're gone. And so we go, we have our nice dinner, and we come back, and I'm just like, okay, this is going to be good. You know, we walk up the 3 flight of stairs, and my husband goes to open the door, and he unlocks the door. Lo and behold, the chain, the deadbolt or whatever.
The safety chain was on.
The chain was there on, and my friends forgot to unlock, to remove that chain so we could get in. So
seeing that chain, I realized, there's someone in this apartment, because you can't lock that from the outside.
Yeah, so I'm behind him, and Pat goes to me, Sue, look out, get behind me, I'm going to break down the door. And I'm like,
I said, stand back.
Yeah,
I'm going through.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, do I want to blow the surprise, or do I need to tell him? But I was really seriously thinking about him breaking down the door, but then there would be a cost to that with the apartment and everything. So he said, no, I mean it. He said, I mean it, stand back. And at the last minute, I was about to say, tell him, like, there was friends inside, but at the last minute, they unlocked the door. And he was totally surprised about these friends. Like, it was the last thing that he was thinking.
I had no thought.
And we went out to have a real nice time. But the point that I wanted to, that came to my mind a lot and stayed with me, was how he was wanting to protect me. And I think that's one of the big things about marriage, is the husband protecting the wife. And
one time, we'll tell you the story. We were in not today, the inner city of Chicago, and we had our young son Jonathan, and someone wanted to buy him from us. They actually came up and say, how much will you sell your son for?
Yeah, they've been following us around, and I noticed he was or whatever, and all of a sudden he actually did approach us, like you said.
I wasn't there at the moment. I found out a little bit later.
Yeah. And he's like, yeah, we like him.
Where's this man at? Let's get him.
Yeah, I'm like, get out of here. Like, there's no way.
Yeah.
Like, what are you even talking about? But you were there soon enough. Like, like, the man left right away, especially I think when he saw you, because he knew that, like,
probably wasn't going to happen.
There was going to be a little bit of trouble here.
But yeah, so we wanted to talk about the husband as a protector. Mm-hmm. We think about, and we talked about Adam and Eve, and how that you may not believe in Adam and Eve, but there's a lot of truths here. We don't know exactly when Eve began to eat the fruit where Adam was, but in the Bible, it says he was next to her, or he was close, at least towards the end, and he gave her of this fruit.
So the serpent actually gave Eve of the fruit.
Yes.
And Eve gave Adam the fruit. But so Adam probably was the one that told Eve that they needed to stay away from that tree. But somehow she ended up by that tree, and where was Adam, right?
Where was Adam? And if Adam, where was his protective role? I mean, he should have picked up a hoe or something and attacked the snake if he was there, or the serpent, rather. But he failed in his duty as a man. And we see in that there's a role change, or a feminization of man. And we have that problem today. We need strong men today. And now let's look at another. Tell us about the man who gave his life for his family at the recent assassination attempt.
Yeah, I think there's probably other examples in today's lifetime. But the man named Corey Carpenter at the Trump rally, when the government started shooting and he realized there was bullets, he told his wife and daughters to get down. He actually acted as a human shield and took the bullet that would have probably hit one of them, and he died as a result. But of course, he's a hero.
He's an absolute hero. He's an example of what a man is and what a man should be for his wife. So Adam failed, and then in Genesis 4, God begins to question him. And Adam did what many men do and denied his failure.
He actually blamed Eve.
And he ended up, because when you deny your failure, you have to blame somebody. So he blamed his wife, the woman that you gave me. And ultimately, when you throw your wife under the bus, you will throw God under the bus. But I love the proactive mindset of Corey, and how that we really need strong men today. I would never marry a man that is not deeply in love with his mother and his sisters.
Yeah.
This is an indicator of how he will treat his wife. And I had a young friend, young brother in the Lord, and his name was Brother Chris Froese. And I seen something in him one day. Someone spoke bad about his sister, and he was about ready to rise up out of his chair. And I said, oh, that is so good. We need powerful and dangerous men. You can't be a real man without being powerful and dangerous.
Can I say something, just a thought about Adam and Eve too, that relates to this? I think men are great protectors and strong when we say powerful and strong and dangerous. When I think if Adam would have had a closer connection with God at that moment, that he would have known in his spirit, probably like, Eve is getting into some trouble, you need to get over there, or you need to help her. I think when men have strong connections with God,
exactly,
like that relationship, that really helps the marriage, and it really helps a man and a husband and a wife understand their roles or what they should be doing.
Actually, you can watch a man and how aggressively he worships God, of what kind of character he is. The church cannot rise above the quality of the fathers. This is so important to our society today. Aggressive worship. And it's not the size of the man. As they say, it's not the size of the dog in the fight, but the size of the fight in the dog. We need men that are real protectors.
True.
That the devil trembles at messing with that man or his family. Because he's committed to them. He's a real man. And That's how a man lives. He needs to be aggressive in his prayer life, aggressive in his attitude towards work, a desire to do the best he can be.
I just want to say that I'm really glad that over the years I can say that truly you've been a great example of this. Everybody knows that you would be a great protector of anybody. Just the obvious, I mean, there's would want to break into the home. I think people would know right away that they would have to tangle with you. Plus, over the years, just in other ways in your prayer life, in different ways that you've been a protector. And I want to say I also had the privilege of having a father that
yes, you had a good father.
That way. And I remember one time, this is just a little incident where there were some young teenagers that were causing lots of trouble. And my dad went out there to deal with that as a protector. Like he was out there, he was going to do whatever, like to take care of business to make sure that it didn't all work out all right. But these young men knew, like, don't fool around with that man, because
you need real men.
You need real men
to protect against weak men. It's the weak men who rape women. It's the weak men who abuse others. It's the weak men who abuse their wives and their children.
And sometimes, would you say, I know I'd have to look up the statistics, but would you say, Pat, that sometimes weak men come from weak fathers? Like they didn't have a father figure in the home, or a father that was like, and I don't mean necessarily like physically ready to go out and fight, not that at all, but just a strong man who knew who he was, knew how to take care of the family,
knew how to get up every morning, knew how to support and go to work, knew how to communicate with his wife on a level of dignity, knew how not to speak evil of his wife in front of others. A huge mistake. A husband and wife need to know that they have each other's back.
That is so true. Like, there's things that my husband knows about me that no one else knows and shouldn't know.
Yes.
And vice versa. We're not talking about, like,
Ananias and Sapphira. We're not saying you can't have a mentor or a marriage counselor. You absolutely might. But when you talk evil of your wife, or evil like Adam did about his wife, you're actually talking evil about yourself.
Right.
Because you are one. So I would definitely not do that. Now I want to look at something else. Stop living with your wife like you're her roommate.
Okay.
That's important. A lot of men live with their wife like they're a roommate.
So what do you mean? Like,
you must communicate. You must disagree. And when your wife disagrees with you, you accept it in dignity because you're a man. And you must respect her. And you must grow and be intentional in becoming more of a man. I have not arrived, and no one's arrived in fully knowing what it is to be a man.
Now, I also too, okay, there might be a number of women that might not like what I'm saying, but when I think about roommate also, there is a place where the husband, he is the head of the home. And that's a protective role too. Like, and sometimes a wife can get in trouble because you need a husband that's going to be able to, I don't know how to say it, I don't want to say put her in her place, or know how to help her to come to some understandings that she needs to come to.
But in reality, the husband has a sacrificial place. Like Christ laid down his life for the church. The husband is constantly laying down his life, not having his way, that the wife and the children could prosper. I said this, but many men are still sucking their thumbs.
Yeah.
Because the absence of real fathers is missing in society today as a whole. And one of the reasons we're doing this podcast is to show how marriage works. And we need a return of real men. And a real man, we need to leave a vision behind for your sons and those who look up to you, what a man is.
Would you say that a real man knows his identity?
A real man knows his identity and knows his role. If you don't have no work ethic, and we'll talk about this some other time, and you can't go out there and work and provide, you're not a real man yet. I'm not talking to, I know some people are in conditions where they're very poor, and it's hard to find work, but they're giving their very best. That's a real man.
Right, yeah.
And so, a true man owns up to his failures. A true man stands by his wife. A true man is intentional in his love, intentional in trying to grow and to become a better man. And to become a man does not happen by osmosis.
Okay.
And to be a real man, you're going to have to die to yourself. And in that, you will earn the love and the respect of your wife and your children.
I think with the man, in terms of protecting, set the standards or guidelines in the home. Like sometimes if a man isn't definite, a woman gets in trouble when she has to feel like she has to assume the role of, like sometimes I think in single parent homes that just happen where there's just a mother that there's a difficulty there because you need a man, right?
You need a man, and if you are in a single home and you are a single mother, you need to find a mentor for your child. That's why the church is so important, because you can find mentors for your children if something is absent through whatever reason, that your young boys and your young girls can look up to someone. Young girls need cuddles by dad because they'll try to find love somewhere and in the wrong places if dad isn't dad. And the young boys need to have a place to go to.
Sounds good. That's worked for us, I think.
I'm gonna leave with one last story if I could.
Sure.
They had an orphanage for elephants in Africa.
Yeah, in Kenya there.
In Kenya, and they were male elephants, and they just let these elephants loose in the wild, and they started tearing up everything.
Like these were like young male
elephants. Yeah, young adolescents, lot of energy, and they started tearing up everything. And they realized that if we're going to have these elephants, we're going to have to send some adult males with them. I encourage you, fathers, take your place in your homes. Take your place. Your wife and your children will rejoice when you take your proper place. As I said, it's not a place of dominance and overpowering dictatorship, but a place of sacrificial love. Thank the Lord for you taking time to listen to what we had to say.
And be sure to send any comments or questions. We'd love to hear from you.
And be sure to press that subscribe button to help our channel to grow. We have a lot of good things to say and a lot, years worth, I'm sure, of things to say. Thank you for your time. That's very good.